The conundrum of middle-of-the-road exchanges, what gets only minutes after the past episode closes, starts with Roy pulling up at the apparently reviled corner store that was the location of a shootout among Dab and her ruffians and isn't 2 times as large of a crime location. Dude Crunch's cleverness takedown of Gator's delegate Gator tells his dad, "I didn't need this going out on the wire." It's a no-joking second, as well as a brief look into how life is in their piece of the task, where the Tans have a fortress, or to place it all the more exactly, the Tans in translation of the US Constitution. Despite the fact that Roy is a negligible dictator with extremist leanings, he decides it very well may be an ideal opportunity to examine what is happening encompassing this articulated Ola individual, since he knows all about how examinations are led. Likewise, the episode brings up a ton of new issues while offering a few responses. Apparently O is from Bismarck, North Dakota, where his mom's CLA actor is as yet an occupant. Is she his mom or not? Albeit the person is recognized as Mom Chomp on IMDb, she is simply distinguished as Irma in the Authority FX credits. She may very well be a lamentable old woman who appreciates liquor and doesn't think fighting with her new tenant will help her much. She wasn't anticipating. Yet, when she finds him higher up, he proclaims, "I live here," presently making it clear what he needs, yet what might be said about in 1522, 500 years sooner, ingrains, and why is realizing essential. The episode invests a reasonable plan of energy, showing the previous for a man that looks like works. Yet again, as a senile eater, however, it never makes sense of the last option. When is the relationship, and is it associated in any capacity to the goat's penance? All makes later in the episode a very devout demonstration, considering he professes to be a skeptic. Roy obviously has his own secrets. Even while he actually watches Spot as his significant other, it doesn't create the impression that this has prevented him from being hitched to Karen Rebecca Liard, or from becoming the dad of Jessica and Mama Creek and Quino, who are twins. If it's anything but a comfort marriage, there are a couple of advantages. Odin Little Michael Copan, Karen's dad, is a purchaser for any illegal weapons Roy can give. Likewise, Odin and his young men have an arrangement that functions admirably with Roy on the grounds that they're open-air creatures with a bunch to 1776 and an admonition to his presumably undocumented child in regulation, "We won't take this nation back," with cruel language. Odin has fantastic designs for the weapons Roy sends his direction, yet even this appears to be unreasonable. Even with Roy's political tendencies, is he a true devotee, or is he only wanting to exploit these political successes? Roy appeared to trust in 420, despite the fact that he may not put stock in 1776, in spite of the way that Karen offers in a scope of sexy situations to look over for the night. Vulnerable drifter, could irate women's activist. However, his considerations have wandered somewhere else. He envisions Dab's current presence in Scandia, where she circumspectly looks through the window to see a Halloween beautified road. It's a genuinely sensible picture. Spec changes the road signs to "Stop likely enemies" in the wake of leaving out around midnight. The next morning, she's making arrangements that don't appear to be associated at all, changing the family's outfits to zombie trackers and making a staple rundown that remembers squeezed orange and lactate for expansion to guns and tactical armor carriers. This outcomes in an excursion to Weapon World, and the best joke of the show, when Wayne lets a representative know that he looks perfect in his privateer ensemble and that the iFix is really a hunting mishap. Everything is good. The representative knows that he strolled straight into that. Spec is exceptionally clear about what she needs: bounty and loans of halting power. The holding up period that holds her back from getting the important weapons is the main issue. In one more scene, Gator gets himself in winning mode by impacting metal music and yelling "I'm a champ" prior to advancing toward the North Dakota roadway. Watch Central Command, where he runs with Mind once more. In spite of the fact that they have various objectives, they're both searching for data on the service station occasion through Donnie's individual possessions. Wit comes simply in time to observe Gator exploiting some damning proof. Well, all of the proof leaving him with only put-downs and dangers. Notwithstanding Gator's card furnished with this and the at last mugshot of Spec, he presently has a few leads. Informally, obviously, Inder and her representative endeavor to meet with Danish and Lorraine in regards to the Sheep family. Anyway, even this mindful procedure leads them straight into a wall. Lorraine needs to keep this inside the family and will before long figure out that implies looking into Spec's experience and recruiting security to guard them. Danish is legitimately canny. That closes our conversation. On the other hand, it would be if Lorraine had not had any desire to give them a discourse on the genuine job of the police, which is to maintain business as usual and keep the rich and the poor separated. She tends to them, saying your watchmen remaining external, the walls holding the riffraff back from getting in. However, you feel no need here behind these walls. Beau accepts that the law ought to accomplish more than what it says, including returning Speck to him. He tells Gator, "I trust in you," and puts him in control in request to accomplish this, which makes one wonder, is Roy uninformed about his child's downfalls? Or is he just fortunate to have been naturally introduced to a strong family as opposed to savvy very quickly? Gator and his pack, decked out in ensembles from the Bad Dream Before Christmas, find their arrangements wrecked when Scandia dresses up for Halloween. Each road sign is dispelled, yet that doesn't clear Dab of liability. Her foes seem to have found her for the finish of the episode, and is that behind her, for the most part, bare-bloodied mudate objective, strolling inside the house. No, it's not. The camera moves toward Spot's front entryway in somewhat of a phony out prior to slicing to one more entryway that opens the other way. And where could that be found? We're still in obscurity. The altering checks out, however, it's not exactly clear. Yes, it appears as though things are becoming tense. This episode feels more like it comes at toward the finish of the time than it does around the halfway imprint. Is Fargo ready to keep up with this degree of pressure till the finish of the Flow 5th season? Albeit that is as yet unclear. The clues highlight B yes, despite the fact that it's not from the latest episode. Sam Spoo's conveyance of the sentence, "You neglected to make reference to that she is for genuine a tiger," has stuck in my cerebrum. Due to it, the current week's Fargo soundtrack is the same as the show's bright 5th season, which has included various melodies from Wonder's Smack My ___ up to Tennessee. Ernie Portage's 616 tons and Jim Reeves' He'll Need to Go A Bad Dream Before Christmas references should be visible in the current week's episode, as well as the one that emerges 1 week from now, tolerating a scene when Gator and his gathering leave Halloween night without uncovering what happens when they meet Spot might happen. We did simply head out to Ridges in the 16th century. Is this just the consequence of the film being a Halloween staple, or is there a bigger main thing? It is recommended that Sinang eaters had a well-established custom in grains in view of references to them found in a record from the 17th century. Apparently the function is depicted here. A needy individual would be enrolled to eat bread that was put on top of a cadaver. Consequently, gobbling up their wrongdoings seems like straightforward work, less bearing the heaviness of every other person's offenses.